And with that, I would like to welcome all of you to this second new Melton Share session. In the Melton Share sessions, we want to give Melton Fellows and friends, activists from all over the world, a stage, a forum to share their stories, their experiences as they are trying to make their societies better places. And I'm really glad that we have Ricardo Velázquez with us today. Ricardo Velázquez has been an active participant in the recent struggles in Mexico for to keep the or to fight the privatization of the education system and to help improving the education system in Mexico. And Ricardo will share with us a lot of his experiences in that movement. Before I hand over to Ricardo, just some quick notes on housekeeping. I'm gonna, if you have any questions during the presentation, we are a small group, so in that case, feel free to just open your microphone and ask your question. If you don't want to interrupt Ricardo by asking your question in person, type it in the chat. I'll be monitoring the chat during Ricardo's presentation, and I can try and then introduce your questions to Ricardo. While you're not asking a question, it would be great to mute your microphones. That improves the audio quality. Yes, and enjoy the session that Ricardo has prepared for you, and I'm gonna look forward, especially also to a spirited discussion afterwards. So with that, Ricardo, I'm gonna hand it over to you, and it might be good if you could quickly introduce yourself again beyond the 2 sentences that I just said about you.
Okay, yeah, thank you very much, Marcus. Well, first of all, thank you very much for everyone for assisting to this Melton Share, How to Start a Nonviolent Movement. As you heard, well, my name is Ricardo Velázquez, yeah. I'm Mexican, I'm a psychologist, and I'm having a bit problem with the presentation, it doesn't change. But anyway, yeah, I'm a psychologist. I was working on the public education system in Mexico for the last 4 years. Since then, I'm an activist or trans activist because I am working overseas right now. And well, I have been working in several organizations in Mexico and well, right now in Germany because I'm living here. In Mexico, I was working with some other organizations, more than you can see here, but I will talk just from the MMPB and the CNTE, which are a union and a movement. The MMPB is a movement and the CNTE it's a union. Both of them, they are working on the struggle of defending the public education system in Mexico. They are a really old, it's older, the CNTE, and the MMPB, the movement, was actually created last year, and I was one of the initiators of this movement in a state scale. And I gotta say that it's well, my state is Veracruz, which is on the Gulf of Mexico, and it's a well, really big country. And right now in Berlin, I'm working with an NGO. It calls Mexico via Berlin, and they are also working not just concerning about Mexico, but also in Latin America. And I will talk about them because right now I'm a member from this NGO, and I'm also participating in a petition to stop an arrangement, as a security arrangement between Germany and Mexico, but I will talk a bit more afterwards. So after this small presentation about myself, I will just continue and just saying, well, according to Gene Sharp, the first step is strategic planning. With this, we have to organize ourselves, creating our ideology, philosophy, and horizontal organization, identified our goal, and recognized our counterpart. What I'm trying to say with this is when you start a movement, you have to create yourself. You don't have to recreate from other movements. You have to have your own ideology, philosophy, and discuss in your group all this. I mean, also identify your goal and these kind of things. And of course, it's really important to identify to who you are having this struggle or this, who is your counterpart. Also, we have to create an identification among the participants. This can be done through the name of the movement, logo, the colors are really important, slogans, and also songs. As you see here in this in the picture, well, this movement MMPB started last year because we had educational reform in Mexico who privatized the public education, not just in Veracruz, but in complete Mexico. So that's why it started like several movements, and the one I'm representing right now is the MMPB, together with the other one with the union, with the CNTE. And well, what I can say about this movement, well, MMPB has around between 80 and 100,000 people, mainly workers, I mean mainly teachers from these public schools. So with this, just to give you some explanation, yeah, thank you. Well, also with this first step, further we're trying to develop an horizontal organization. It is really important to have some representatives or spokesmen which build your organization nucleus. People need to identify with trustful contact people. This allows you to manage not only small groups but also masses, as you see on this picture. What I'm trying to show you is normally the people think that a movement just start like casual, like okay, some people it's angry, they just meet on the street, and I'm trying to say that yeah, well, sometimes happen these kind of movements, but they are not long enough to survive the struggle. As we have to do is to organize ourselves, to come back, as I said before in the step one, I mean like, and really discuss and organize into small groups. And with this minority, you can just work and influence the majority of these people. And with this, you can really develop a movement, a proper movement. And of course, develop some democratic issues and be more horizontal organization and start to develop some other goals during this process. And well, actually, this photo was taken in Jalapa, which is the capital of Veracruz, my state, and this was one of our protests during the last year. Also, I mean, I have to say on the step number 2, Gene Sharp proposes we have to overcome and prevent atomization. What does atomization mean? It means the intention of the counterpart to divide your group or our group. As you can see, we can be thousands of peaceful people on the streets, but if some guys are creating disorders, the media will show them instead of showing our non-violent actions. Of course, they will focus on these kind of actions instead of showing like there is a lot of people behind them that they are not doing anything and they are just like protesting non-violent. Sometimes there are infiltrated provocators by the government, as we saw in Mexico City this week. Actually, this photo was taken last week, was on Thursday actually. So what we are doing in Mexico is to document those pictures and put it on the social media. As we can see on the picture, this guy was seen on an army bus before the protest, and afterwards he took violent actions during the protest. You have to take in mind that the government wants to present the protesters as violent to stop society's sympathy for the movement. Actually, I mean, unfortunately you cannot see like the complete photo from on the left side on the bottom. As you can see, it's like it's a truck or a bus from the army, and actually it's an official bus, and all these people, they were participating on the protest last week in Mexico, but was actually them who was like doing all these disasters. Yeah, just to show you how it works when you are facing governments, because of course I would like to emphasize that the social movements, they don't have always to face a government. I mean, it could be in a labor condition or some others. Okay, the step 3, the support columns.
Ricardo?
It is really important. Yeah?
Ricardo, Eva is asking in the chat to explain what you mean with atomization. Maybe before moving on.
I'm sorry, I didn't hear anything, and I don't know why I'm not watching. I'm not seeing the. Okay.
It's fine.
Okay.
It's good.
Right.
I'll focus on the chat.
What do I mean
on the presentation.
Okay. No. Yeah, I forgot to see like the questions. No, it's all right. We can just go back. No, we can go back. But anyway, what do I mean with atomization? It's we have a phrase in Spanish. I don't know actually how to translate it in English. Like divide y vencerás, which means like divide the groups and then you will win. I mean, if that makes sense to you. That's atomization. They are trying to separate the groups. For example, with unions, as in my personal experience, you have the biggest union in Latin America. It's the teachers union in Mexico. Almost 2 million workers we are like on this union. But what it's the government doing? It's trying to separate this. They are with corruption. They are paying or they are giving some money to the leaders, creating some other unions, and well, trying to keep the people calm and don't complain about the new reforms. And concerning about the educational reform, they are trying to do this. For example, last year in Veracruz, in my state, we have almost 200 workers just in my state, 200,000 workers. Yeah, and from them they are divided and they create at least 10 new unions in just 3 months or 4 months from last year. So that's how it works. They are trying to divide us or to separate. I saw another question somewhere. And so we have to really focus on that and try to keep together and to prevent this divide and rule, I will say.
Yeah, it's just the translation.
If that makes sense to you, I don't know. Yeah.
Yeah, thanks for that clarification. I think that makes sense.
Okay, cool. Okay, so then in this case, I might just, we're having a lot of problems with this. Okay. Okay, step 3. As I was saying already, the support columns, well, it's really important to establish good connections with local, national, and international organizations, movements, human rights agencies, and of course, and most important, to keep in communication with the society. This is like, I will emphasize with this, society is the key. We always have to keep in touch with our society from our region. Otherwise, we are not going to have their support. Social media, it's a helpful tool in national media, it's only showing the government perspective. So be aware to develop a really good connections in order to hear and to present your point of view on a local, national, and international scale. Also, you can see with Ayotzinapa, international support from outside sometimes make more pressures that the government that plenty of actions in Mexico. I would like to say, for example, on 20th November, which is actually our anniversary for Mexico for our revolutions, in several parts or in several cities, more than 150 cities, not just in Mexico, also abroad, we start this campaign and we did some of these demonstrations all over at the same time. So it doesn't really matter. Maybe 100 of these demonstrations was in Mexico or maybe more, and just few was like outside in almost every Latin American country, also in Europe. And unfortunately, or for our lucky, for the ones who we are doing something here outside Mexico, sometimes it really cares more about the international perspective to the government than the national one. Unfortunately, yeah. Well, Mexicans and no Mexicans, we participate during this protest, during this day, and of course showing their solidarity. In Berlin, for example, we also organize a 43-hour solemn vigil or occupy, but it wasn't actually occupied because we didn't take the embassy. And for example, also Calle 13, a famous artist who is on that picture with Univision. Well, he actually showed his solidarity in the Grammys Award this year. And this is actually like really important. He was saying like he wasn't supposed to, I mean, he couldn't say anything during the Grammy Awards, but I mean, he said everything with the t-shirt, just showing like something is happening. And also in this picture, for example, on the Stop Mexico, you can see it says like Stop Torture in Mexico. Was an amnesty demonstration last week, and also we participate. And of course, it's influencing the perspective not just from the German people who saw the demonstrations. Also, it changed the political situation between Mexico and Germany, and that's actually like really important issue. We can, for example, with this case of Ayotzinapa, we saw like how the European Parliament divide each other, if they should still do some economical issues with Mexico or not. And so that's actually what we are trying to do. When we are working as a trans activist, as we call it, when you are working overseas, sometimes it's really helpful to show the depression and that we don't agree with the situation. Yeah, well, continue with these 6 steps. Yeah?
Ricardo?
Yeah?
I have a question to the before. You said that this demonstration, that German demonstration, changed the political situation between Germany and Mexico. Can you clarify that? Is it that like the German government is having different relations to the Mexican one, or how do you mean the relations have changed?
Yeah, well, actually, it changed, and not just in Germany, also in the European Parliament. We saw, I can actually add, I don't know if to you or to Julie, give it some on the videos, like they were actually like the people from the Parliament, they were arguing about the situation in Mexico and if they should do something or even cancel some of the economical transfer that they have with us, with Mexico. So it is actually really funny. I saw a video, I think 2 days ago, from the Bundestag. This is Bundestag, yeah, from the Parliament here in Berlin, and some politicians, they were like against, and some like they were supporting. It's not about Mexico. I will to emphasize that it's not Mexico. They were supporting the government of Mexico, which is like a bit different. Well, But these politicians, they were arguing, and one of the conceptions they said, and it's on the video on the parliament. One of them, their argument was, how can we support the Mexican government when we see Mexicans doing demonstrations for 43 hours outside the embassy, showing that they are not happy with the government. And so it's really obvious how small things, because it was just 43 hours outside an embassy, changed the perspective, and actually was an argument inside the German parliament. It's really funny to see the connection and how it works and how we influence on politics when we are doing some issues like this, for example. And the same happened, and it's also a video on the European Parliament, who actually divided the European Parliament divided about this issue. About Mexico. Some of them they were against, some of them they were doubting, but at the end there is still discussion going on, and more with the situation that happened on the last demonstration. And I don't know if I answered the question.
Yeah, okay, thank you.
Yeah? Okay, but yeah, it's when you become an activist, sometimes we think, or I thought sometimes, okay, just be on the street and shouting, screaming, and just let people know that something is not wrong. Maybe it's not helping, but at the end you can really see that the people start to change their minds. The people on the streets who were just watching, some of them they wanted to participate later on. And also with this video, with the Bundestag, you can really see how you influence. And yeah, well, about the image that you see on the step 4, resist violence. This is about keeping the situation. Participants and counterpart calm, although the situation becomes with tension. This is really, it happens a lot and really often. I don't hear. Okay. And in our movement, when police and our protest face each other, we, the organizers, and some representatives see ourselves as regulators, as our main role is to show the participants that in our protest, our acts are not violent. Sometimes it helps to put in the front famous people like artists, politicians, or also some leaders. I will also say, concerning Gene Sharp, he also suggests, for example, to use women and kids and use it on the front. So the people who is gonna be in contact with the police is gonna be kids and women, and of course the police, they don't feel confronted, or they don't feel scared about a future confrontation or future struggle, I will say. But for example, about this photo, it is actually me. I'm the guy with the black hat, and I was actually telling my comrades or my friends to stop pushing, just I was actually holding one of the, not helmets, how you call it, I was holding one of the police because he was really pushing and hurting already my colleagues, and I went there and said hey, come down, we already agree to, we're going backwards, and so we don't want to fight, and to keep the protest in order, because it's really easy to the people to react and to start fighting. So you have to be always in the front and tell them hey, stop. And also the police will react different, because for example in Mexico, at least during this period, I was really well known, and also some of the police, not the normal police, but the capitans, or I don't know how you call it, the officials, yeah, they recognize me and say hey, don't touch this guy because he's one of the organizers or like I was actually the spokesman of the movement. So it's really easy to say like, hey, don't touch him, and everything start to come down. Yeah. So it's really important to say that. To be in these kind of roles, of course, needs to you have to be really strong sometimes, I would say, no, because it's not just about you. Because maybe if I wasn't, I don't know, not leader but the spokesman, maybe I could react differently, for example. But because you are in this situation, you have to think about the others and about what you represent in this moment. So it's really important to keep it in mind, no? For example. Yeah, well, about the step 5, Gene Sharp presented as political Jujitsu. In Mexico, we have been facing several times repression from the police. We have to keep in mind that first of all, behind police uniforms, these are people, and I would like to really emphasize that they are people, and that they are workers. They are just following orders. But we have to use our networks to show the world the brutality of them and their orders. We can use the same violence to fight against them in a non-violent way by showing pictures of the incidents on the social media, so the society, they will be, of course, they always gonna be with the victims. In this case, the population or the people from the movement. In this case, unfortunately, we are the victims, no? So they need to see those pictures, I mean, the society, to feel empathy with the protesters and to become motivated to stand up as well. Sometimes, why the government is using the police during the manifestations or during the protest? Most of the time, they just wanna scare the people to participate. No, hey, don't complain because everything is alright. And if you do something, or if you wanna protest, look what we're gonna do to you. And we're really lucky that most of the people, when they see these kind of pictures, I mean, in this picture you can see like there's kids, there is some women, there is some, I mean, I will guess it's a student or just a young guy who is actually not doing anything to the police, and I mean, he's getting hit by the police. Of course, the people is getting angry with the police, and it's showing them, and also the social pressure. It's not the same perspective if you say, hey, I'm a Mexican police officer, as if you could be some other profession. Because now the society is like, oh, you're police, so you are like these people who is hitting the protesters, and they start to change their mentality, and the next day, maybe, they are not gonna follow the orders. Now I was searching on the internet and stuff, and I found some tweets, for example, on Twitter, of course, from some police, and they were saying like, I don't know how many policemen they were already like quitting the job, although they need the money, no, because they don't wanna hurt anyone from us. I mean, from the protesters, because at the end, they are people, we are people, and they don't wanna hurt anyone. They are supposed to take care of like the criminals, but they are not supposed to hit the people who is not doing anything actually. Yeah. So that's actually what Gene Sharp is saying. A not violent action, it's a weapon, a psychological, social, economic, and political one. We have to think, or we have to change our perspective, or what is a non-violent action. Some people think that non-violent is to be pacifist. Some of them, they call it like, you're pacifist. Well, depends what you call it, because non-violent action is actually a weapon, as he described perfectly. No, you influence in the psychological way, social way, economic way. I mean, with boycotts and some others, and also in the political one, as we saw. For example, I told you this case from here in Berlin with the 43 hours occupy. for example. So it really helps, and we didn't even have to confront or to have a fight with the policeman. We did what we think and what we believe. And well, actually, the last step, and it sounds really easy, you know? I mean, just to say never give up, this popular phrase. Actually, this photo was taken also in Veracruz. I know all of them. They are my colleagues, they are my friends. And how we organize. And through the struggle, I mean, we always have to keep in mind our goal and remember why we are doing this. We might face many problems, but we can never forget that sooner or later we will reach our purpose. Please keep in mind these keys, and that's from my perspective, not actually like from Jim Sharp, not in an academical way. No, organization, self-empowerment, and education will always make it easier. And if you see, I see this 6th step as a circle. I mean, because once you start a movement, you start organizing, no? You start following all of the steps, and at the end you are in the same. You have also to organize again. Once you reach one of your goals, then you have to reorganize again, and then start, and it's just a circle. I mean, just like going around, but in different, now with different goals, with different perspective, with more empowerment, because now you know what you are able to do in these cases, and so you can just continue. And about, as I said, it sounds really easy to say never give up, but you really need to focus on this. Why you decided to take the streets, or why you decided to defend your rights, and just keep it in mind. Because every time, at least what happened to me, sometimes it feels really really bad that you are doing many things, many actions, and at the end maybe you don't get, or that's your perspective from inside, no, participating in the movement, that you're not getting anything better, yeah, or you're not getting, or you're not reaching what is your goal. But at the end, when you just turn to see like what's behind you and what you have done, you discover that you have been through many things, and you have good relationships, good connections, and that it's every time it's getting better, and of course it make it easier to get your goal. With all of this, what I said, what is happening in Mexico, as you said, as you saw, I was talking about the defending, or like these unions that we are defending the public education in Mexico. I connected with Ayotzinapa, and at the same time, I connected with this last campaign. What's my intention? You just saw some of the images. I mean, unfortunately, just some, because it's plenty. It's actually some videos on the web, and you can have a look what is happening in Mexico. But what I want to say is, now that you saw this this picture with the police, and I really want to emphasize that these people, it's doing to other people, I mean in this case police to population or to citizens, we have, unfortunately, Mexico asked for a security arrangement or security trade between Mexico and Germany, and now you can see how everything is connected. Now Mexico that is facing this drug war, yeah, this murders, disappearance, and kidnappings, and all that you saw also on the other video. Everything is connected, and what I'm trying to do with this blast campaign, together with Mexico via Berlin, and also with the Coordination for Human Rights in Mexico, based here in Germany. It's another NGO that I'm also working with. We're trying to push this security agreement, and we're doing a petition. The Sicherheitsabkommen, or this security arrangement, although it's a very general agreement, its ultimate purpose is to facilitate business and to facilitate technology transfer in a specific area in the militarization of the civil society forces, so to the police, which means Germany is one, I will say the third one, but one of the most producers of guns in the world. And with this arrangement, it will facilitate or it will help them, I mean Germany, to sustain its military industry. And of course, because Mexico, and the same happened, for example, with Colombia in the 70s, yeah, that Germany had something to do with it, unfortunately, also selling guns in this country, and it's happening now in Mexico. And our intention, as you saw, the police, the Mexican police, some of them, they are not really academically talking, no, they are not well prepared. 68% of our policemen, they didn't even finish primary school. The first 6 years of education, they don't even finish, and 2%, they don't even know how to read or write. So we're talking about the 70% of our policemen, and now our government is trying to do this arrangement to train them, yeah, and also will facilitate, as I said, like the connection of or like the business to get more technology in this militarization of the police. So with this blast campaign, you can find more information. I mean, we have the first two, like No al Acuerdo and like Kein Polizei Abkommen. There is these web pages, and you can just sign up, and because we're trying with this petition, we're going to present it to the European Parliament and also to the Bundestag or to the Parliament here in Germany to stop this agreement. Mexico, it's not ready for something like this. We know that fire can be stopped with fire. I mean, can be stopped. So we don't want more guns. If you want some further information, you can also visit like Mexico via Berlin, the website, or like this coordination human rights organization based in Germany also. So as you can see, what happened in Ayotzinapa is not an isolated case. Everything is connected. These guys are working actually with our movement, with the CENTE and also with the MMPB. So my movement, or in the one I'm working with. So unfortunately I didn't get the pleasure to get to know these students, these disappearing students, but we're working together, and that's why we're trying to stop this. Ayotzinapa is not the first time that have faced something like this. In 2011, actually, 2 of the students of the same school from Ayotzinapa got killed by the federal police with some German guns. And we have all the information on the web, on the websites from our organizations. They are in German and English and also in Spanish, all the information. Please feel free to just spread the word and to continue with this, trying to stop this campaign. Also, concerning Gene Sharp, you can just visit the Albert Einstein Institute, which is the institute from Gene Sharp. They mainly have almost everything free. You can download all his books. I mean, he has a book, Dictatorship to Democracy, for example, and also like 198 methods of nonviolent actions, which give you some information of what we can do. Because normally when the people think about activism, think like, oh yeah, I'm going to a protest or demonstration, and we can do more than that. What we are doing, for example, with this petition, it's also activism. Or what we did in the embassy, it's also activism. Or what I'm doing right now with you, it's also activism. So you can really figure it out what is best for you and how you want to participate. You want to be part of the solution, or you want to be part of the problem? When you start to ask these kind of questions to yourself, you start to see in what you want to do to change the world, you know? And for me, it's almost everything what I can say. No, thank you very much. There is my email address if you have like if you want to keep in touch or have some other questions afterwards. And yeah, I don't know if there is another question or I don't know.
Yeah, thank you very much, Ricardo. First of all, I'm pretty sure there's going to be more questions for you. And I just want to say, well, big thank you to you. But I also found it very, very helpful to have that both your insider perspective of being participant on the forefront as a speaker for the education movement, but also how you summarized and systematized your experiences by using this model of a nonviolent movement that you got from Gene Sharp and put the things that you did, the things that happened to you, the strategies that you developed, put those into a more conceptual perspective. I think that is combining these two perspectives is really very helpful for someone like us who, of course, is looking from the outside. But I wanted to essentially hand it over to our participants now and give you the chance to ask anything you want about the presentation, about the methods. You might have questions about the latest developments in Mexico. You might have questions relating what what Ricardo just told you about Mexico to your own situations at home. Ricardo told me before we started that he's open for any kind of question from you. So just go ahead.
Hi, Ricardo. This is Patty here.
Hi.
Hi, Ricardo. Thank you very much for your presentation. And I have a question. I'm very interested about the work that you are doing, and also it's amazing to hear people with all this power to really try to get to the goal that, in this case, you have. So congratulations for that as well. But I would like to know about how the whole thing started with you, because you were saying that you start working in the public system as a psychologist. And so my question is, you started being involved and being more aware about what it was happening and the injustice, and then when you were in the system is when something made a click on you and you start participating in the movement, or it was before that? And what was it, something maybe specific that made you to make this very important decision for your life?
Yeah, well, it's actually a really good question. I will summarize that, well, I have always been a really social guy. I mean, I'm really concerned about my environment in like several ways, you know. And what it really changed in me was when I started working in this public education system in Mexico, and when I was working on the communities, like with the indigenous people and outside the cities, the big cities, and blah blah blah, I start to get to know the real Mexico. And the real Mexico, it's not what you see on the pictures from the protest, no. Yeah, like buildings and roads and just normal cities. You can see like really how the people live, how they think, the philosophy, their education and everything. And to me, it really changed. Actually, I got a student who, well, in Spanish we say tocayo, who is like, he has the same name than me. And he was just like 3 years old. And I remember one day I was working at his school, and he fell asleep. And then, like, the teacher called me and like, hey, go come for him because he doesn't feel good, blah blah blah. And then I went with him. I mean, to the office, and we were talking. And at the end, I discovered that he didn't have dinner, breakfast, and he was actually working the day before in a construction site. Yeah, thank you. And he was paid for 5 pesos for doing this job. 5 pesos is around like 30 cents from dollar. Yeah, and with this he couldn't pay like almost anything. I mean, you cannot buy almost anything with this. And for me, it was really painful to see how the kids are going to the school and which kind of schools. So I will say that Ricardo, this little Ricardo, changed my life and make me see something totally different and make me more active on what I'm doing. And I have to confess that, of course, you have to. Well, I had to have like so much straight or so much strained, and because it's really painful when you are like facing policemen, when you are working with the government, because I was actually like on these discussions, and like it's really exhausting and frustrating, I gotta say. But every time I'm just going back to the step 6, never give up. And I always gotta think why I was there and what I'm doing this. And I think about this little Ricardo, and I'm just thinking like it could be me, For my lucky, I was born in another family, but some others, they don't have the option. And what I'm trying to do is like to develop this social awareness, and to say the world that something is really wrong with it. How is it possible? Like 6% of the world money is on the 96% of the population, and the rest is just they are like keeping it with the richest man of the world. So it's the opposite where it was supposed to be, And something is really wrong with this, and that's why I'm doing this.
Thank you very much, Ricardo.
Who would like to go next with a question?
Yeah.
Well, then I would like to. I found it very interesting how you described yourself now as a trans activist, and that was that term itself caught my attention. I quickly looked it up. I didn't find many people using it in the sense that you did, but what maybe you can describe. I mean, now that you're not in Mexico anymore, but you still want to continue your engagement, your struggle, you still want to follow your purpose to improve the lives of the people around you in Mexico. But I could imagine that being outside, I think you talked about opening up new possibilities for action and for creating change in Mexico. But I could also imagine that being in this new role also made you face a lot of very new and very different challenges than you had while you were still in Mexico. Maybe you could talk a little bit more about that. How do you see yourself now that you're so far away from Mexico, but still so connected and still so active in the movement?
Yeah, that is actually another really good question. When we decided, if we decided to leave Mexico, I gotta explain a bit more. Like, was because I had like lots of political problems, and then I decided with Julie to go away, and between like the things were like going calm, and so when I decided to leave Mexico and decided to start my master here now in Germany and to do this intercultural conflict management, and it has to be with all this activism. Kind of me, I to be honest, I thought like, okay, my activism is over because I'm not in my country, and what can I do, right? So I kind of fell into, yeah, like depressed. I was kind of depressed and this kind of stuff. And then when this happened with the Ayotzinapa, and that was really connected what I was doing before, was like, oh well, I don't know. I didn't know what to do, to be honest. I knew that I needed to do something, but I didn't know how. And I'm new in the city. I didn't know anyone, and what am I supposed to do? Just go to the embassy and shout something, or what? And so like I start to search on internet and stuff, and then I found this NGO, and of course I'm always keep in touch with my Mexican organizations, and at some point, I don't know how, then I just saw myself like giving interviews and doing some trans activism, and I was actually also like I didn't know neither this new word, if you want to call it, or this concept. And I think how I understand this trans activism is that you don't limit your activism in one nation, because this struggle is not just about Mexico, as I said before. It's about education. It's about how we divided the money in the world, how the neoliberalism politics it's affecting the developing countries, as they want to call them or call us, and that we can do so much more, and it doesn't really matter where you are, who you are always able to do something. It doesn't really matter if it's just taking a photo in front of the Eiffel Tower and say like my support to Mexico, or to do a petition to revoke this agreement between the countries, for example. Everyone is able to change their environment, and not just your environment, also like overseas, or like the things that are farther. So that's my belief, and I always think, for example, in this phrase from Gandhi, that be the change you want to see in the world. And when I say it, I mean it.
Yeah, thank you so much, Ricardo. Do we have any other questions?
I have another question too.
Go ahead, Leo.
Can you hear me? Yeah. Okay. So from your presentation, I got like the bottom line that sort of influencing the media is a very powerful tool. Like whether it's the government who do it, or the people who do it, like the activists. Like when the media is with you, you can be very powerful with your movement, or with the counter movement. Would you say that like this is the most important step or strategy for any movement in general, or would you say the most important is to keep the people motivated? I don't know if you can just say that, but maybe you can say what to you is the most important thing, like what you do as an activist.
What I do and what I believe, and thank you for your question. Unfortunately, like the media really influence or affect the perspective of not just from the movement, also affect from the society in general. And as I said on the presentation, like the perspective from the society about what you are doing, it's really important. And the media, as many countries, and Mexico it's happening, like they don't show the reality, or they show what they want you to show, right? Or what they want you to know. And they don't say to you, like, okay, for example, in Mexico, that these parents and these families from Ayotzinapa, from these 43 students were disappeared because at the end they were communists, with these socialist ideas, and this school is with this ideology, and it's not, I repeat, it's not isolated case. The media is really important, and you really have to focus on this. And when you are in the step 1 on the strategic planning, or estimate the strategic planning, as Gene Sharp called it, you really have to focus on a committee or a small group who is gonna really take care of these connections with who is with you and who isn't with you. And they also have to design their own strategy. How are they gonna contrast what the media, official media, is saying, and what you want the people to know, to let them know what you are doing? Yeah. So, of course, during this process, you really have to. How to say that? Like, information, it's power, and if you focus on this, you get the answer. I mean, if your information is power and it's good enough, you have a lot of power. If you really believe that your struggle or your fight it's really good, you have to show the world why is that good. That way, the people is gonna follow you, or not follow you, I mean, as a person, as a movement, and sharing with you, this struggle, and that will make it easier. Unfortunately, as I said, not always the media. For example, in Mexico, with the teachers, the media were saying like, oh yeah, the lazy teachers that they don't want to work, they are doing so many manifestations, they are making disaster in the street because every day they are like marching and stuff. And that's what the media said to us. But at the end, they didn't say like, okay, it's about the privatization from the public education system. No? I mean, so at the end, what is more powerful, the media or the teachers in the communities? Yeah, of course, we start like also a campaign and talking with the parents in the schools and explaining why. And in that case, the connection with the society is really important. If you don't have the potential to contact some big media, for example, like now here in this trans activism, in my experience, that I have been in contact with Deutsche Welle and some other like official media, national and international. And of course now I can give my perspective, but if you don't have that potential, then you should start to work with your colleagues and to spread the word just one by one. But it's really important. Information is power.
Okay, thank you very much.
Hi, I'm Amina. I also have a question.
Amina, can you speak up a little more?
Hello?
Yeah, I couldn't hear it, sorry.
You have to speak a little bit louder.
Can you hear me now?
Should work.
Hello? I'll type it.
Okay, no, Amina, we can hear you now.
Oh, you can hear me now?
Yes.
Okay, yeah. Awesome. What would you say was the turning point in your movement in Mexico? Was there a protest or a newspaper article or a rally or something that put you on the map to other countries?
So you said like, what was the turning point to make the movement big, or?
Yes. Yes, ma'am.
Okay. I guess it's a really difficult question. But when the government decide to do this this reform, as they call it, no, educational reform, they how to say it, like they privatized the education already, unfortunately, and one of the what it make it really big was like before the parents they didn't have to pay, for example, for electricity at the school, yeah, and after a month that the reform was already like working, I mean was already yeah, working, I would say, the schools start to receive the receipts from the light, I mean, yeah, and so they needed to pay the electricity now, and now the parents, for example, they were like, hey, so this is serious. I mean, it's not about like quality in education and all these speeches that the government is saying. It's also like about economic stuff. And so the people start to, okay, then let's support the teachers, because the teachers were right. The teachers, they are really defending the education. And I guess that's what, I mean, of course it's really general, of course was more things going on, but what it really affects the population was like the economy, no? Now they needed to pay these kind of things like water, electricity and stuff. And so the parents were like, okay, then let's do the strike, or let's close the schools, or let's go to the governor or to the functionaries and say what is happening, no? I guess in this case, from the teacher movements, was one of the main reasons why. And also, for example, I guess every movement are facing at some point, we call it in Spanish like reflujo, which means like at some point the movements are really big and big enough, but in some other time could be really small, because now the people is not really interested in doing something and stuff, so you don't have like the political power to, I don't know, to negotiate or to do something with the government. But for example, what really rescue us now, I mean, I don't want to use that word, but my English is not that good, so to rescue is the actual situation in Ayotzinapa, which now the population is really angry, no? And because it's not just about these students, I gotta say, it's about some other issues. And now the population is like, okay, the teachers were right. I mean, the government is not doing good. The government is like connected with the drug dealers. The government is corrupt and blah blah blah. So, and also it helps to this situation. It helps us to connect with some other movements, like for example, me here in Berlin, no, connected with these NGOs and with these human rights organizations or agencies. And at some point, as I said before, everything is connected, and it will help to grow this movement, no, and to create this awareness or social awareness of what is happening.
Thank you.
Do we have more questions? If this is not the case, Ricardo, you have been so kind to share your email address with us. So this is, and then to invite all of the participants now, if you have more questions, to get in touch with you. That is very generous of you. So again, also, if you have any more questions, then send them to Ricardo and he will try and then give you answers on that. I wanted to thank both Ricardo for doing this session, for being with us today, and all the participants for joining, for showing their interest, showing their support in a way also, and their activism by joining this presentation and asking good questions about nonviolent movements, about how it starts, how it grows, how we can do that. And yeah, maybe Ricardo, you want to have the last word and finish this session?
Yeah, thank you, Marcus. Well, I just want to say thank you. Thank you to all of you, of course, to the Melton Foundation team again, and just to remind you, as I said before, that it doesn't really matter where you are, who you are. You can always do something. It might not. You might not be Mexican, but what it happened in Mexico or what it happened in Ethiopia or wherever in the world, it's going to affect us sooner or later. So we develop this awareness, we will help the world to be a better place. And I hope that you could spread this information to your relatives or family or friends, and so like that people can know what is happening and what can they do, and also of course help us to do this, to sign this petition. It's really quick, and yeah, I guess that's it, and thank you very much again.
Yeah, thank you. And we did a recording of this session. We're gonna share the link to the session on the Melton Foundation website and also on the Facebook page for this session. So if you know of other fellows, friends who have not been able to join us at this time, but who were interested in what Ricardo has to say about Mexico, feel free to share the link, to spread the word, and in that way, through that way, also support Ricardo in his efforts to work for better education and more justice and less corruption.